Bases dropped on a Saturday Power Hour edition of Soccer Down here. It's a match day for Atlanta United. We'll be getting deep into Atlanta versus Orlando. Kickoff just before 4 o'clock today on Univision. Lots of stuff to dig into with that match. Lots of stuff to dig into with MLS as a whole this weekend. Games are on. There was a match played last night. Toronto won 1-0. Some controversy afterwards. We'll get into that. We'll preview the weekend, and we'll look at USL as well. There's already been a game this morning that a lot of people were keeping an eye on. Kind of a weird one, but it's a preseason kind of game. We see this often in the Men's Community Shield. A little disjointed, passes not quite connecting, players just off song. We saw that in the Women's Community Shield. I'm just glad we saw a Women's Community Shield. Thank you, FA, for finally bringing this back after 12 years. Chelsea wins 2-0 over Manchester City. Manchester City finished with 10. Really pointless tackle to create a red card situation. Millie Bright with an incredible goal to open the scoring, and Chelsea goes through. Even with Sam Kerr not being able to convert on chances early on, she was really struggling to get into the flow of the match.
I think, her first match in 6 months, I think, was what they were saying on the broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, it shows. I mean, the Community Shield in general can be a disjointed game because it's essentially the end of the preseason. But in this case, the women haven't played in so long in competitive matches. Friendlies prepare you a little bit, but they don't necessarily get you ready for this. This needs to be a big tradition year after year. The FA needs to continue this and have both games at Wembley when fans are allowed, and make it a giant celebration of the game in England, and it has to continue. Make it a true doubleheader where you buy a ticket, you get both games. Figure that out, make it work for the future. But you have the Men's Community Shield coming up, kickoff just after 11 with Liverpool and Arsenal, and we'll see if we, I would expect both teams to look a little bit sharper, not a whole lot sharper, but sharper because they played more recently in competitive games.
Yeah, and I'm just looking, and I know that it's preseason and all that, but I just want to see who gets run out there, and I'm happy to see the sport in and of itself heading toward another season more than anything else.
We just ended the season where you acted like it's been gone for so long.
It's like I'm so into that rhythm of watching matches regardless of where they are. It's like, all right, let's dial it up again. Let's keep it going. It's all about momentum.
All right, Men in Blazers. Okay, it's a sad day with no football. There's games from all over the world on every day.
I watch Belarusian Premier League.
Yeah, yay, you're happy for another game. It's nothing different.
Line it up. I'll knock it down.
You were that way yesterday. Everybody's like that right now. There's games from all over the place at the moment. It's good stuff, and that's how it always is. Newsflash, there are more leagues than England. It's crazy, but it's true. We will talk about one of those leagues, two of those leagues, Major League Soccer and the USL Championship, 3 of those leagues, USL League One as well. Lots of stuff to dig into. Chris Ashley is yelling about Rodrigo and Leeds winning the Premier League, and Chris Ashley might have already dipped into the brown liquor this morning. Just saying.
Yeah,
Chris,
we
just
talked
saying.
about we talked about Rodrigo on Greenville Triumph Weekly a little bit for his weekly.
It's not Leeds United Weekly. It's Greenville Triumph Weekly. Why are you talking about Rodrigo?
But because he's a fan, I figured since it was developing story for him, I figured we'd get into that a little bit toward the end of his segment. We did get all the Greenville Triumph talk. We talked to Greenville Triumph, but because he's a Leeds guy, I wanted to get the Rodrigo thought in there too. So there are no juice boxes available for Community Shield.
Yeah, it's just weird. Ropes, I was talking specifically about a tweet, I think after the Champions League ended. Men in Blazers posted a sad picture of Neymar because, it's always fun to take some shots at Neymar about there's no football. And there was 5 games that day that were all over the world in pretty big leagues. So, just saying. And definitely Wakanda Forever. Absolutely, 100%, y'all. That was shocking, I think, for everybody last night. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think there had really been any news about anything going on.
Mm-mm. I did not know about his fight, and when I saw colon cancer, that struck a chord with me. Full disclosure, lost my father to it, and it is, it is an ugly disease. Cancer in general is ugly, and colon cancer. Here's my PSA for the morning. I'm a man of a certain age. Get checked. And I have already had 2 colonoscopies, and I'm scheduled for a third because of my family history. So if you are if your family has history, if you're of a certain age, please get checked. That's all I can say.
Yeah, the one that hit me, Matt Jacobs' tweet, as people were starting to connect the dots here. I mean, the amount of work he did while he was sick, at least when he knew he was sick, and the part about going from a Black Panther project to Marshall to another Black Panther movie, and I mean the bulking up and slimming down, just like that's hard anyway. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, and I think Chadwick was somebody that everybody appreciated his work, and I think you have to appreciate it even more knowing everything he went through to deliver that work. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and it being on anniversaries of Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball, mm-hmm. and the anniversary of the "I Have a Dream" speech in Washington D.C., and just the circular nature of it all, and it's all reminders. And Chadwick Boseman, 43, far too soon.
Absolutely. I know. I mean, a lot of people are going to be watching a lot of his movies this weekend and for a long time to come. I haven't seen a celebrity death affect so many different people like this in a while. It just shows you, I think, how much he crossed over into so many different worlds due to his work.
No doubt. And I'm of that same. I was looking at Twitter, and everybody sitting there saying there was one tweet in general from a correspondent for one of the major networks. He's like, "Okay, so what movies are we watching today, and what time are we watching them?" So seeing that all across timelines at 280 characters.
Yeah, that might be my day more tomorrow. Lots of soccer all over the U.S. today. Lots of different things going on that we'll be covering. We might have at least maybe a non-video watch-along tonight with all the MLS games going on, just to hang out and talk soccer after Atlanta United's match this afternoon. We got a little bit of this that's interesting. This is breaking from Football España, who is a good resource if you're paying attention to what's happening in Spain. They're kind of an aggregator of all the news in Spain, and it's in English for you guys. They are reporting that Barcelona has sacked their law firm for advising Lionel Messi on his efforts to get out of his contract, on leaving as a free agent. More to come. It just keeps getting ridiculous with this news in Barcelona. By all accounts, Lionel Messi is gone. Like, he's leaving. He ain't coming back. He's not putting on that shirt again. He seems to be trying to do this in a very fair, very respectful way. I think people tried to make more out of the burofax than was. It's a legal document. You have to do that if you're going to take these steps. Reportedly, he's been fairly clear going back to March that look, he's not coming back. He's going to go. And Barcelona does not seem to be wanting to do this in that way. And it's just incredibly dumb. I don't know if they feel like maybe in the past they were able to turn the public opinion against a player who wanted to leave, that they were anti-Barca. I mean, just judging from the social media campaign that they got in trouble for, or the social media influencers that they hired to discredit people like Pep Guardiola and others who had left the club. This is not exactly a shock. But whatever worked for Luis Figo, whatever worked for others that you were happy to see gone, that's not going to work with Lionel Messi. It's just not. So why are you trying to find new ways to fight this thing? They're going to continue to make it worse, and they're going to dig a deeper hole for them that they're going to have to climb out of. That's what's so baffling about it. Like right now, you've got the window, okay? You can take care of this. You can honor him as you need to honor him, and then you can have him back when you can have fans in the building and honor him properly. The public is not going to turn against Lionel Messi. You have a president who is unpopular, who cannot be reelected when those elections come. He doesn't want to give up the power that he has right now, except he's been the one who's been in charge while this club is disintegrated. It's not going to get better this way. Get this done. Do it right. Get what you can. If and it sounds like Manchester City is not completely opposed to giving up something. Get something if you can. Get it done and move on. And get it done quickly. Because the more it lingers, the more you're going to have people outside of your offices, the more you're going to have people storming the gates, the more you're going to push your dedicated fans away. Mm-hmm. And there's no coming back. Like, I don't know if there is still this idea in Barcelona's mind and the higher-ups' minds that they're going to be able to fix this and he's going to stay. It doesn't appear that way from people who are close to him. He's gone. So do it in the right way. He deserves that from you. You deserve to give that to your fans. Do it the right way and move on, because this is looking like a clown show right now.
Yeah. So waiting for the next piece of information coming from Football España with this MESS in big capital letters, bold-faced, italicized, underlined, and yeesh.
Did you really just do that?
Yeesh.
No, not that.
What, MESS, bold-faced, italicized, and underlined?
Uh-huh.
That's what that is. It's a mess.
His name's Messi.
Oh, that was not part of the plan. That was not. That was unintentional.
You should have taken that one and run with it. That was fun.
I'm a very linear person, so I did not see that coming.
Uh-huh. All right. What do we have in the USL Championship and USL League One today, John?
Okay. Actually, I did find juice boxes on the FA Community Shield. Liverpool minus 149, Arsenal plus 383. So,
you know what? If you're feeling squirrely, throw some on Arsenal. I think they have more motivation here.
And honors even after 90 at plus 326. So, all right. So, USL Championship. Bunch of matchups starting at 6:30. And Loudoun United, Red Bulls 2, pretty much even. Loudoun United plus 149, Red Bulls 2 plus 139. Your draws at plus 254. 2 at 7 o'clock, Charlotte and Birmingham out of Group G. Charlotte plus 120, Birmingham plus 195. Your draws at plus 222.
Birmingham's plus 195 there.
Yeah.
And where's the match? It's in Charlotte?
It's in Charlotte.
Still, Charlotte's been good. 3-2-3. Birmingham's been really good. Is Charlotte having fans?
I haven't seen anything to that announcement. No, I haven't.
Even
seen
still, like, what was the number for Birmingham again?
Plus 195.
Yeah, I kind of like that number. That's a little shocking to me. I've been really impressed with Birmingham this season.
Yep. The other match at 7 o'clock was postponed yesterday. North Carolina FC and Memphis 901. 7:30, Charleston and Tampa Bay at Patriots Point. Charleston plus 206. That has increased. Tampa Bay is down to plus 120. Your draws
You're
at
getting
plus
a plus
20.
for a team that hasn't lost all season?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tampa Bay's a better team than Charleston. Sorry, Battery fans. And even though Charleston is in a good run right now with 3 straight wins, Tampa's 6-0-3. I just think they're the better team in the matchup. I just think they're the better team. So I would even lean to that. Getting a plus number on a team like Tampa Bay is a little surprising, period.
8 o'clock, 3 matches, Colorado Springs and New Mexico United. Colorado Springs plus 219. New Mexico is minus 104 on the road.
Yeah, it's a big swing with those two teams in terms of quality.
Yep, and plus 248 for your draw. Tulsa and Sporting Kansas City 2. Tulsa minus 120. Sporting 2 is at plus 263. St. Louis FC and Lou City. In Fenton at 8 o'clock Eastern, St. Louis plus 148, Lou City's at plus 160.
That's a total toss-up.
Your draw options plus 211. At 9:30 Eastern time, remember El Paso is in the Mountain Time Zone. El Paso and Real Monarchs. El Paso plus 106, Real Monarchs plus 209. Your draws at plus 237. 2 10 o'clock games Eastern time. Orange County SC minus 175. San Diego Loyal is a plus 401.
Wow.
Your draws at plus 269.
San Diego's lost 3 in a row. Orange County's not unbeatable here, but yeah, San Diego's in a bad spot, so okay.
And then your last match in USL Championship at 10 Eastern, Reno 1868 is plus 270, hosting Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising minus 132.
That's about right. All that's on ESPN Plus all day, so you can catch up with USL Championship there. What about USL League One? What's the schedule this weekend?
One game at 1 o'clock Eastern. Chattanooga Red Bulls have slid their home start times because of weather and a lack of lights at CHI Memorial. They're now doing 1 o'clocks on the weekends. So 1 o'clock Eastern, Chattanooga and New 2, New England Revolution 2. Chattanooga plus 129, Revs 2 are plus 181. Your draw is plus 231. And the big matchup tonight that we talk about on...
Big matchup.
Big. 1 versus 2. Top of the table separated by 6 points. This is a 6-pointer here. Richmond at City Stadium plus 188, hosting Greenville Triumph. Greenville plus 133 on the road at 6:30.
I don't know. That plus 133 is pretty nice for Greenville. I kind of like it.
So... yeah, I'm right there with you. I like Greenville to snap back after the midweek loss. And I think that's probably what's playing into this number a little bit. Going up to Boston midweek to play, coming back, and then going to Richmond today. So I still like Greenville. I'm just saying that's probably why it's playing that way.
Yeah, I'm still leaning Greenville. I'll be keeping up with that one this evening as well. MLS, whole bunch of games. We went through them more from a juice box situation yesterday, so we don't need to rehash that. Right. But the schedule on ESPN Plus, and there is one on FS1, but your ESPN Plus schedule, Cincinnati hosting Columbus, Philadelphia, D.C., NYC, Chicago, all at 7:30. The 8 o'clock matches on FS1, New England hosting the Red Bulls, 8:30, Dallas hosting Minnesota, 9 o'clock, Colorado hosting Sporting Kansas City, 10:30, the Galaxy hosts San Jose, Portland hosts Real Salt Lake. That is your schedule in MLS for the weekend. Which of those, if you're going to throw a game up on TV, which of those grabs your attention?
Wow. But I'm a serial flipper, though. That's my problem.
I'm not asking about you. I'm saying which one of those is going to get your attention first. I'm not talking about the flipping portion of it. Which one are you going to start with?
I'm going to start with Philadelphia, D.C., since it's a 7:30 start in the East and work my way west. Obviously, I'll wrap with...
So, okay, then let me ask you this then, because this is where I'm confused. I probably phrased the question wrong to set you up that way. Okay. You're going to start with Philadelphia, D.C. because it's the first one, obviously. But are there any of those games that you're like, okay, I'm jumping in there from kickoff because that's a game I want to see, or do you just not care and you just flip around?
Oh, no, I care. I think... really to watch from kickoff more for the social impact and aspect, it's Portland and RSL.
Okay. And yeah, that's a good point. I think from a potential chaos on the field standpoint, the Galaxy and San Jose is a fun one. I'm also really interested in how Philadelphia looks, and I'm really interested in that New England Red Bulls match because it's two teams that are kind of in the upper middle of the conference, and I think both should make the playoffs in this format. But I don't really know how I feel yet about the Revs and about the Red Bulls this season. So I want to see it. In terms of Philadelphia, D.C., Rope said Philadelphia and D.C. is going to be a stomping. I think it will too. But I want to see how Philadelphia looks in this situation because they're having to learn how to be a favorite overwhelmingly against teams now. They've moved into that top group in the East, in my opinion. So sometimes young teams struggle with that. Sometimes they don't handle that situation well. They get so comfortable being the underdog that they don't handle it well when it flips on them. I want to see how Philadelphia does in the early going. Cincinnati, Columbus, and Ricky Ricardo says hell is real just because.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy watching Cincinnati right now at all. So, like, I don't want to watch them park 9 guys behind the ball and just sit and try to play on the counter. I just don't enjoy it. I'll keep up with what's going on in the match, and I'll be looking for highlights, but I'm not going to spend my time on that one because I don't enjoy the style of play. And
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, so then let me ask you this. So having Mensah and Valenzuela on my back line for my fantasy team, because I'm not anticipating Cincinnati scoring. That was my rationale.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That makes sense. I just don't know. I just don't enjoy Cincinnati at this point. So NYC, Chicago, can Chicago continue to build? Can NYC show us something? I don't know how to feel about that one either. Dallas has been so bad lately. I think Minnesota should be favored there, but how will they look? Kansas City needs to show us a response after getting spanked at home. They go to Colorado, who's been bad. Are they going to be able to show you that? There's some interesting subplots here in this. Let's talk about the game last night, Montreal and Toronto. The Reds get the win 1-0, and maybe there was more conversation about some of the comments after the match. Josie Altidore sat the match out for personal reasons with the backing of his team and his teammates. Montreal players, and this was a little surprising, Montreal players after the match said that they didn't want to play. Remember, the announcement came from the MLS PA and Major League Soccer. What time did that come yesterday?
Oh.
Middle of the afternoon?
Yeah.
I don't know what the travel plans were. I don't know how this went, but that agreement came with the MLSPA, the Black Players for Change being heavily involved in that, and the league moving on to play. And it came after the NBA had announced their plans to come back and what that was going to look like with games restarting today. It's been a little hard to follow, all of the different protests and who's sitting out and who's not, and who wants to sit out and who doesn't. I hadn't heard anything from Montreal before the game about any of these issues. It was afterwards. Louis Binks said, no one wanted to play, but I don't think we can use that as an excuse. The final decision was to play, so we played the game. We weren't good enough. They were pretty better than us. They had more chances than us. There are a lot of boys in the changing room, if not everyone, who felt that the right decision was to support what's going on and try to make a stand against what's going on in the U.S., and we thought it would be quite powerful if 2 Canadian clubs, although it's not happening in Canada, racism happens everywhere. But although what happened didn't happen directly in Canada, we thought it would be good for us to show our support. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen, and we played the game. But I don't think we can use that as an excuse to say that's why we didn't win or that's why we didn't play as well as we can. Binks also said that, or at least he indicated that there was an outreach to Toronto to express that they didn't want to play. Binks, quote, that's where the message got lost. And Binks went on to say, they wanted one thing, we wanted another. For whatever reason, we didn't come together to decide. We made it clear what we wanted, but the game got played. There was a divide between the two camps. They wanted to play, we didn't. Obviously, like I said earlier, we can't use that as an excuse. That's why we didn't win, but because the final decision was to play. And me personally, I wasn't good enough tonight. I don't know. I don't know how these things are supposed to get handled. I don't think anybody really does. What's okay, what's not okay. Like it's really difficult. It was really difficult during the Canadian national anthem where everybody knelt except for Michael Bradley. And I think at first some of the responses were talking about the U.S. anthem. That wasn't played last night. The game was in Canada. It was 2 Canadian teams. You don't play the U.S. anthem there. They played the Canadian anthem, and everybody kneeled, which I didn't know was happening right now. That's why I think all this is really confusing, is people are trying to figure out what's okay, what's not okay, and things are getting misconstrued. Michael Bradley has been very outspoken on a number of things throughout his career and as captain of the U.S. men's national team. And, I think people were taking shots at him for standing in a situation where I don't know. I didn't know people were going to kneel during the Canadian anthem. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen. Everybody's figuring this out on the fly. And I think the number one element that I'm coming to with all of this is people have to, I think, open their mind to how others feel and are responding during this. I think it's pretty hard in general in something like that to say, this is right, this is wrong, no questions, no expectations of, trying to understand the other side of it. And in this standing during an anthem is not the other side of something that in terms of human rights is right and wrong. We know that. Standing during the anthem is a personal decision. And again, Michael Bradley said this after the match about the communication to play, about all that. He said, it's not worth talking about. Again, there are real things to talk about. There are important issues at hand. The behind-the-scenes stuff that has gone on in so many different locker rooms and across different leagues, that stuff is not important right now. And he talked about, in his comments about standing, he talked about everything with that. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know what we're going to see in the games today. I think there's a lot of eyes on Real Salt Lake, which is a very specific situation that is, it's not bigger than this, but it's more personal than this for RSL players. They've said they're going to play. There hasn't been a question about that, really. And it came out last night that Deloy Hansen is stepping away from the club while his conduct and all of these different situations that were brought to light in the Athletic article, he is stepping away from the club while those investigations are going on. I don't think he returns to the club. No. I'm glad he stepped away from the club now, or at least it was announced in this way, because that takes one distraction away from this. I don't see him coming back, period. However you get there, MLS and the NWSL and USL Championship have to get there. It's unacceptable for an owner of a team to say to a black player's face, when are we lynching him? It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. Yeah. It's sick. And for that to happen, and I mean, nobody knew about it until this article, and that's just part of this. But for that to happen, he's not welcome back. He can't come back into this. That's incredible that would happen, and shocking. And no, he's got to go. But you've got to handle it legally, and that's the problem. That's where things can get tricky, because the MLS Constitution, you've got to pay him fair market value. There will be a fight over what fair market value is, because I don't know if anybody knows what fair market value is right now, today, after COVID-19, during COVID-19, after it's affected the business the way that it has, what the future effects could be. And for a team in a small market that is never going to be one of the leaders in revenue, but is part of a league that is pointing in a positive direction before all this. And I think still, after all this, they will be pointing in a positive direction. Might just be further back down the track than it was before. What is a fair market value for that? I have no idea. I don't know what the process is in the NWSL. I'd assume that the Real Monarchs are attached to whatever happens with the MLS club, so no real major concerns there. USL's pretty much said that MLS is in the driver's seat on this. That's fine. The Royals I really worry about, because you're in a situation where what is their value? What is the NWSL's recourse to move forward with this? How do you handle getting him out of the league? I don't know. I don't know those answers. I don't know what the NWSL rules and regulations allow them to do, and I don't know what the process would be for that team to stay in the market, because that's what you would want. Would there be people who would come in and potentially buy it and move it? Yeah, I don't think that's hard to imagine, but that's not what anybody wants here. The Utah Royals can be a very top-tier club in the NWSL, but they need somebody to own them who is not what Deloy Hansen is. I don't even know if allegedly is the proper word at this point, because it's been pretty well documented through a lot of different people in a lot of different places that he's not what the NWSL needs as an owner, or MLS, or anybody in soccer in this country, to be perfectly honest. So now you have to deal with that, and that's where things can get very difficult. So we will see what happens there. Is there any other things you've seen about the Hansen situation going forward?
No, the Utah soccer statement that came out last night that you referenced about him stepping away was the latest thing. And in addition to the franchises in the 3 separate leagues, you're also talking about all the facilities. We got into it with when Mike Conti was on the show yesterday. You're talking about stadia, you're talking about training facilities, all this physical representation and all these other things that are attached to the teams that are a part of this too in determining fair market value, because it's not just the franchises, it's stadia and all these other buildings that are a part of the infrastructure that have to be considered too.
Yeah, and the thing about them that we don't know, and this factors into this, is who or what owns them. You know, does Real Salt Lake as a business own Rio Tinto Stadium and the training facility, or is that owned individually by Deloy Hansen? That's a major element here, because if it's owned by the entity, then okay, everything can be sorted. If it's not, it can get complicated, and there's already going to be some complications. Some really good reporting, and I really wish I could remember who it was. I believe it was Ben Bromley of SB Nation that dug into the foundation's numbers and what's out there. And a lot of the stuff is publicly available because a nonprofit has to file their 990s and all that. That is publicly available. The foundation owns property, and they own property that was Deloy Hansen's, and you donate that or you gift it to a foundation for tax purposes. But how does that stuff get handled? That's another complication here. And is there anything like that in terms of what RSL has and what the Real Monarchs have and what the Utah Royals have as part of their business? We don't know. It could get tricky just because of those types of elements. So we'll have to wait and see on that. The fact that he stepped away is best for everybody, and that's a good first step here. That can make things go forward in at least some semblance of normal at the moment. That's good. The legal process of getting him out of MLS and out of NWSL might take longer than anybody wants it to, but it might just have to. And I think people need to understand that that's a whole different conversation than should he be gone. I don't think there's any disagreement there after what we've heard. Bernd Dursberger with a good shout before we jump into Atlanta-Orlando things at the end. If you got questions about Atlanta-Orlando, please throw them our way on Twitter at SoccerDownHere, in the Twitch pitch. If you have questions tactically about it, if you have questions about lineups, whatever you have about today, we'll finish with that. But Tudor Rahman, who is a really good marketer, good U.S. soccer, kind of diving deep into things that don't get talked about enough. Tutul, Tutul, is my name, is his Twitter account, and he is a must follow. Yep. He's been posting some very interesting elements about roster valuations, and Bernd Dursberger asked about if we had seen the thread comparing the median transfer market value of teams in different leagues with MLS and the median player value. I think what it shows you, we've had this conversation and people have yelled at me for saying that MLS is a top 10 league and we went through, kind of how it looks. The numbers, I think, to some degree back that up. So England, Germany, Italy, Spain, France. When you talk about median squad value, way ahead of everybody else. That's your top 5. That's no surprise. France is a little bit higher up than I thought they might be. Next is the Championship in England, which is higher than I thought it would be at median squad value 39. I'm assuming these are all translated to dollars. Did Tutul say that? He did not in that original tweet, but I'm assuming it's all, it's dollars. Sorry, I see it now. Okay, so Championship 39. Russia and Brazil are level at 37, tied for 7th. Mexico 35, Argentina 32. MLS 27. Belgium 23 is number 12. Portugal's 20. Turkey's 20. China's 18. Netherlands is 16. 15 is CH? It's not China. China's 17. Czech Republic?
That'd be CZE.
I don't know what CH is. And I don't know if we're not using the standard CZEs because MX is Mexico.
Okay.
Anyway, and the second division of Germany is 18. And, okay, so in median squad value, MLS is 11. I've felt like for a while that in this area, beyond France, it's a jumble. And I didn't have the championship in there. I should have. At least according to median squad value, I should have. I do wonder if those numbers are inflated a little bit because of the English soccer business and the TV money that is there that maybe puts players as more valuable in England than they would be outside of it in terms of their quality. But Russia, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, I think in this hemisphere you have to put on the field Mexico, Brazil, Argentina ahead of MLS. But the dollar figures are not dramatically different yet. The parity is what this shows, because then you start to dig a little bit deeper and you look at the 15th highest squad value in a league. Orlando is that team in MLS with 26 million is the 15th highest squad value in the league. That is Bonfield in Argentina, 29. That's Necaxa in Mexico, actually 24. Cortaba in Brazil, 21. So leagues that had a higher median value that were ahead of you are below you when you get to the number 15 team in the league. That's an interesting point. And as Toodle said, that's the positive of parity. If there's an American doing exceedingly well in MLS, it means the quality that player is facing on a day-to-day is actually favorable to anybody outside of the top five. And I would agree with that. Ricky posted a Bleacher Report article ranking the most entertaining leagues, and that's totally subjective. I'll have to dig into that one. I have not seen that one, Ricky. Okay, so when you start to dig into this, I think what it shows is your people who will yell at you and tell you that the German second division is so much better than MLS. The numbers don't bear that out. You can argue about quality and all that, and that's fine. That's subjective. But I don't think the numbers bear that out. MLS, the parity is the unique element of Major League Soccer that other leagues don't have. That's going to make MLS a very unique situation here. I need to dig a little bit deeper into this, Bernd. It's really interesting, and I've always felt the same way that you do here. Our bottom teams are stronger than in many other leagues. Totally agree. You see that big drop-off in leagues that are top-heavy. That creates a good competition. That creates a compelling competition. That is exactly what parity is designed to do. It does put a ceiling on things. And this is the challenge for MLS, to find a way to maintain the parity, because then you have teams that are towards the bottom that are stronger teams, which means better competition, which should mean better player development, while allowing the teams that can go bigger to go bigger without pulling away from everybody like you see in these other leagues. Brazil's a prime example. I mean, Brazil, their top teams are very, very, very good, and they're the best in South America. You get below like 10th, and it's a crapshoot. It's a total crapshoot, because good players don't stay in those clubs very long. They go to bigger clubs where there's more money. It's just not good. I mean, Argentina's the same way. Like, you get below the middle of the table, and there's a huge drop-off in terms of quality. MLS is very, solid when you get below that. I mean, if Orlando is the 15th team in terms of median squad value in the league, they don't play like the 15th team. And that shows you, I think, the one thing I would push back on, because valuations are really hard right now anyway. I've always felt like MLS is undervalued when it comes to transfer market, when it comes to what that market is. I think we're starting to see it really change quickly. So is it truly at that number? Is it a little bit higher? What are the sales actually happening at? We'll see over time. I think MLS is on the rise in that area, and players are far more respected coming out of MLS than they ever were before. American players in general are far more respected than they ever were before. So those valuations could change pretty quickly. But it's kind of where I thought it was. It's where I felt like it was. You can't say that American soccer stinks and the Belgian league is better just because you think so. Like, things have changed. MLS is not what it used to be. You can't say that, this player should go play in the second division in Germany, or the they should go to whatever English club will sign them because that'll make them better. No, those days are done. Those days aren't the case anymore. MLS is on the right path. It's 25 years old. It is a compelling competition. Players are being developed here. All of that needs to continue to improve because you can't just stop and say, oh, we're good enough. It's got to continue. But it's in a pretty good place. And sometimes maybe we forget that with all of the everything sucks, everything's dead, kill it all. We hate everything. I don't know.
Rich Ransom on Twitter for a separate topic than Atlanta and Orlando, because I know we're going to get into that. Rich is catching up with us. He says, listen to Friday's show on the podcast. He says, at DC United has never given Ben Olsen a roster to win except Rooney, but that was only to open Audi Field and due to DC United's front office ineptness, who also owns Swansea City. Thanks for the reminder, Rich. They'll keep Olsen as coach in 2021 and lose to the Union today 2-0.
He's had some good rosters. 2014, I think, is a prime example where they went out and really used the re-entry drafts and the waiver drafts and added a lot of talent and put a really good team together, but they can't keep it. And they did that one as kind of a short-term fix. They went out and grabbed a bunch of older guys that made the team good, but it didn't have any staying power. Then it got bad again. Then you went out and got Rooney for the buzz, which you needed to open the stadium. That was absolutely part of it. But things changed. You weren't able to keep it. The Rooney saga will be a great 30 for 30 as to how everything went with him in D.C. Maybe the off-the-field stuff might be the most entertaining, just saying. The tabloids have said a lot. Yeah. Colleen Rooney might come after him, too, if this does happen. So anyway, I think he's had some talent. I don't think he's had enough talent consistently over his time, but I just don't see anything changing. I don't see him, at this point, getting the most out of the talent he has. And I think it is time. DC would probably want to do that after the season. They don't gain anything from doing it now. You know, you are talking about a club legend, and MLS clubs need to cultivate legends. So you don't dump him at this point. It's not going to dramatically change anything with this team. It isn't as good of a team as some people thought it was coming into the season. So at the end of the season, do it the right way, give him the gold watch, and move on. That's what needs to happen.
Yep. All right, we're caught up on Twitter. What do you want to talk about with the match later today?
What do you want to talk about the match later today?
Well, I mean, is the starting 11 that you have in your head still the starting 11 you have in your head? Nothing's changed?
Well, Stephen Glass said that was probably the starting 11, so I'm going to go by what he says a little bit more than me. He's got the lineup sheet that he's filling out. So, just saying.
But then let me ask you this: do you think that Stephen Glass might be playing a little possum?
He could. I mean, it's very possible. It's very, very possible that that's the case. Don't know that for sure. I mean, I'm going by what he said, and he said the lineup should be the same because guys didn't play. So, I mean, the questions would be Kubo Torres and his fitness. Is he further along now after a couple of days of training? Can he give you more? Do you decide you want to start him? Emerson Hyndman, is he, and being day-to-day, is he on a good day here? Can he go? Yeah. Do you want him to go? I don't have a problem if he doesn't, and it's nothing against Hyndman. It's just the fact that what Orlando can do, you might want to have Adams and Remedi sit a little bit deeper than have Hyndman pushing higher. So that might work out well for this match. That's really it for me. I don't expect Barco just because I don't know what the situation is. I don't know what his injury is, so it's hard to say. I don't know if he trained. If he trained in these past 2 days, then yeah, we could see him. I wouldn't expect him to start. Hyndman could come back into the starting lineup. Barco, I think, would come off the bench first. Dom will come off the bench first. Torres has come off the bench. Is he edging into being able to start? We'll have to wait and see. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But if it's the same 11 that we saw on Wednesday, that seems about right to me.
And I would think in looking at what we know with Orlando offensively, when Juan comes forward and engages in the play, which is what he loves to do, and we've seen that, I think for me, there's opportunity there for Atlanta United to take advantage of that space that he creates by engaging in transition. At least for me, that would be one of the things to look at.
It can be. That's going to be down to that left side, and we know Pity Martinez is going to stay up very high, and we know Juan is going to go. So there will be space. If you can play Pitti quickly in transition moments, he's going to have a lot of room to operate in and pull this team apart, because I just don't see Juan dropping at all. Rope says his fantasy team is screwed. He's got Franco, Meza, and Barco. You can change it.
Yeah,
you can change guys who haven't played.
Yeah.
So you can't pick any Montreal or Toronto guys for this week, but Ropes, you can make that change. Burns says, I'd like to see some improvement when we have the ball. Still not very good. Too static. Rotations. Few ideas. Yeah, there needs to be more movement off the ball for sure. I need to see that. I agree. I think they're still finding their way with this stuff. I don't know where it all went wrong with Frank de Boer in terms of this side of it. The team looked incredibly different from the beginning of the season, where the 3-4-3 was flowing, things were working. Is it all down to Joseph not being there? It's an element, for sure. I don't think you can say that it's not. It's unfair to say that it's not. But the MLS's back tournament looked like a completely different team in terms of the way the team played with the ball. They haven't got that back yet. And it might not look the same right now. It just might not. Kubo, I think, gives you closer to what you got out of Joseph. Adam John's not that kind of player. He's just not. If you play Manuel Castro up there, maybe that was the idea that De Boer had, and then it just was so rough in front of goal that you didn't go back to it, which I don't know. Just the way that tournament was managed, I have a lot of questions about some of the decisions that were made there. Looking back at it in hindsight, that's gone now. So you're kind of starting over. Steven Glass is changing things around, but it is going to take some time. So movement off the ball is something that I feel like was lost during the break, and that's got to come back, because you can't just play to feet standing still all the time. That movement off the ball's got to come back. I do think Josetu, in the role that he's in, can be somebody that can facilitate when that movement occurs. I think he can be somebody that can take that pressure off of Pitti to be on the ball a ton, get him on the ball in dangerous spots. Josetu can control those moments in a much better way, even to the point that maybe with some of his passes, and we see that I think the best players do this, you use your pass to direct the runs, and you get the run next time. You play the ball into space where there's space to say, give me that run. Do it faster. I shouldn't have to play you there. Start moving there, and we can move faster up the field. I want to see if Josetu's confidence has grown a little bit. After a good performance from him, it felt like his confidence grew from minute 1 to 90 against Nashville. Can he start at a higher level here and continue to take charge a little bit on the ball? That would have a huge impact, in my opinion.
And then also on the back for Orlando, while Janssen reminds me of a Mack truck at times back there, I think that João Moutinho can be had over there on the left.
Yeah, he can. He's been better than ever before this season defensively, but I think he can be beaten on the dribble, and I think he can be beaten for pace. And with Brooks Lennon bombing down the right, even from a right back position, I think he can give Moutinho some issues. Castro, I want to see. I just don't know. I don't have a good read on him just yet as to what kind of a player he's going to be in that position. We only saw him in that position really in the second half in Mexico City when he played in the MLS's back tournament. He was in a different role, it was a different shape. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about him yet. He needs to get in behind Moutinho, because I think Moutinho's lack of pace could be what hurts him here. They're going to want to use Moutinho a lot. They're going to want to play to him a lot in the build-up, because he's better on the ball in those situations. They want to play Juan into space. They want to play to Moutinho's feet. That part's fine. You want to run at Moutinho, and you want to get in behind Juan if you're Atlanta. And that's what you're looking for. So Castro, he's got to win the 1v1s with Moutinho today.
And then Orlando's offense against Atlanta United's defense. I've really been impressed with Pereira. And for me, I know that everyone is looking at those top three that we'll see for Orlando City, but I've really been impressed with Pereira. He's the one that I'm going to keep an eye on for Orlando offensively.
Top 4. I mean, DK has made the starting striker spot his own, and then that front 3 of Mueller on the right, Pereira in the middle, and Nani on the left. It's fluid. Mueller, ton of energy. Pereira, good work off the ball to get into spaces. Everybody focuses on Nani, sometimes maybe a little too much, and you forget about Pereira at times. DK is going to be a handful for Atlanta center backs. I mean, he is a physical presence who will mix it up, who will fight with you, the hand fighting, the wrestling elements. He will give you all of that. He's got pace, and he's playing just in a very confident way. He gets any kind of look at goal, he's going to fire off a shot right now. Can't give him those opportunities. It's a tough one for Atlanta against this kind of attack because it's not just one player. I mean, Mueller's got 5 goals, but he hasn't been the primary creator here. Nani has created a lot as well. Pereira you can't sleep on, and now they're getting a presence up top in DK. So Atlanta's going to have, in those moments, the back 4 be very solid. And this is a makeshift back 4 with Walks and Robinson in the middle, Bello on the left, Lennon on the right. They're going to have to get help from the central midfield, and that's why I think Mo Adams could be a big factor here if he sits deeper. I want to see how that midfield looks because the back 4 can't be left alone to deal with Orlando's front 4. You can't put them in that situation. You've got to get help from Adams, from Remedi, potentially from Josetu, potentially from Castro on the right side. You're not going to get it from Pitti. You don't want it. But you've got to deal with that because Orlando will attack with numbers down the right. And that's got to be something that Oscar Pareja is going to be drilling into these guys all day. Is Pitti's going to stay up high? Huon's going to go. He's going to look to combine with Mueller. How does Atlanta deal with that? Because Pitti's not going to – you don't want him defending deep. So does that mean Remedi becomes an auxiliary left midfielder at times to cover that space, potentially, or Adams, or Josetu? Somebody has to. Somebody's got to track Huon's run. The reason why you don't want Pitti to do it is you want his energy in the attacking half, for sure, but you also, that gives you the outlet. That gives you the automatic, Huon goes, Pitti stays high, you win the ball, who are you looking to play? Pitti Martinez. Done. Mm-hmm. That's who you find. That's what LAFC's done with Carlos Vela so often. And they do it in a different way. They're doing it from a press. But Vela drops off, and he hangs out wide. And when they win the ball, he's not engaged. So you play him. You immediately play him, and then he can run. You want to do that today. So you've got to win that battle to make it work. You've got to get help for Bello. This is going to be the toughest defensive assignment George Bello's had in his career. He needs to step up. He was very good defensively against Nashville, but he's got to be even better today, and he's got to get help. And it's not going to be traditional help with the left winger dropping back to help him. It's got to be somebody else. So you have to be in sync to do that stuff.
You mentioned your score in the predictions for the contest that we have at J Bailey 86, the Bailey Daily. You said 3-2. Initially, when I was looking at that total, according to our Juicebox folks, it was a little over plus 700. Since we gave our predictions, the over-under at 5 in our Juicebox composite is now up to plus 912.
But I need 4.5 because 5 is a push, John.
So then it's plus 456.
Yeah. 5 does. If it's 5 goals and I'm taking the over-under at 5, that doesn't help me. I need 6 goals then. I'm already asking for a lot with 5.
So you're at plus 456 right
Fine.
now with your plus 4.5.
I like that return. Burns says, actually, the 4 p.m. kickoff works well for the visiting team. Fly up in the morning. No need to hang around all day. Get back on the plane at 7, home at 8. Hopefully we get a couple of these as well. I'll be curious to see the effect because I don't think we've seen – well, no, that was L.A., so, I mean, you're just across town. You're just driving. So I don't think we've seen anything like this. I see what you're saying, and that could be good. But then the flip side for me is – what is the effect of the travel on Orlando's legs in the match? Now, this is a very short flight, so the effects will be more minimal. But that longer bit of time, you almost get to kind of recycle your day a little bit. Like Atlanta going to Fort Lauderdale, they did go to a hotel, and they just stayed in a hotel for the day and rested before going to the stadium. You did have to hang around all day, which is annoying mentally for sure, but physically should have been fine for the match. This one, I wonder. It's such a short trip that it should be all right. I think the bigger effect is Orlando playing on Wednesday and not having a ton of depth, and Atlanta not playing on Wednesday and having more depth.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta will have the legs late, but they can't fall behind. Now, the interesting thing is Orlando's the one who's had that problem all year. They've only scored the first goal one time. They've had to come from behind consistently all year long. They did again on Wednesday. That's an issue for them. And it feels like one of those things. The game against Nashville, they really struggled with just direct play early on. Mm-hmm. Does Atlanta try to model some of that and put them under pressure as they try to settle in? I think they could. Then does Atlanta play a little more comfortably after that? That'd be fine. To have the legs in the final 30, especially, to really dial it up. Bernd, I don't know. I'm really curious. They'll be tired in terms of the amount of games, and I don't know if the travel will even factor into it, or if we'll be able to tell. But they'll be tired. And for me, a team like that, you go hard at them in the first 15 to 20, and then you let everything loose in the final 15, 20, 30 minutes. The middle, it should be more even up, but you can take advantage of them early as they get settled, and you can take advantage of them late as fatigue just sets in.
Mm-hmm. That's why when I mentioned Jake Mulroney yesterday and having speed off the bench for that final 30 minutes or so, I think that having that kind of an option would be huge.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would like to see a situation where Castro gives you 60 minutes and Mulroney comes in and gives you 30, or Gallagher comes in and gives you 30 with their energy, with their pace late against tired legs.
Right there with you. Fix your fantasy teams, people.
Fix your fantasy teams. We'll be on the radio 3 o'clock on 92.9 The Game. Univision has got it. Twitter should have it in English as well. Your SAP button should work for most of you. It works on Uverse. It works on a lot of systems. I don't think it works for John on Xfinity. Sorry, John, but you'll be in the stadium, so you won't have to worry about that. Kickoff about 3:55, 3:56. We'll have the full-time report for an hour afterwards on 92.9thegame.radio.com. The game will also be on Sirius XMFC, channel 157. And then we'll have some form of a watch-along tonight. It might just be a logo and audio as I sit here and watch games and just hang out. So we'll see what happens. But we'll have something up tonight, so if you guys want to chat, that will be open at some point this evening. I'm going to get home and I'm going to eat dinner, and then we'll see what happens.
We'll send the bat signal out. And
the bat signal will go up on Twitter, and the bat signal will go up on Twitch for those of you guys who follow. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out. I like these Saturday shows. These are turning into a lot of fun in a compressed hour format. So thanks, y'all. Have a good one. Enjoy the match, and we'll be back soon. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.